I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 19th, 2007 meeting of the Salina City Commission. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Jelka.
Here.
Commissioner Larson. Here. Commissioner Peck.
Here.
Commissioner Perney.
Here.
Commissioner Vanier.
Here. We'd like to invite everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda today is the Citizens Forum, a time set aside for any citizen who would like to bring something to the Commission's attention that is not on the day's official agenda. Is there anybody who wishes to come forth for that purpose? Seeing none, we will continue with awards and proclamations.
Item 4.1, the day of November 19th, 2007 as Public Health Thank You Day. Dale Myers, Health Education Coordinator, will give the presentation.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about Public Health Thank You Day. It is November 19th, which is today, and it recognizes the crucial role of public health practitioners and advocates in ensuring safety and well-being. The mission of our Salina County Health Department is to assess community health status and available resources, to develop policies to support and encourage better health, and to assure that necessary services are provided either through other entities, by regulation, or by direct provision of services. We work towards accomplishing this mission by guarding and protecting against threats, such things as investigating disease outbreaks spread through water supply, inspecting restaurants, screening pregnant women and children for costly, treatable, and preventable diseases, responding swiftly to health threats from natural disasters and terrorist attacks, managing protection against West Nile virus, flu, and other infectious diseases. B is providing leadership, defending against emerging infections, promoting health and disease prevention strategies, advocating for better health through public policy, empowering people, and providing necessary preventive care. C, improving health and safety, responding first when outbreak occurs, enforcing health and safety regulations, animal ordinances, providing nutrition education, and home health services. And D, sharing knowledge, teaching people about nutrition, increasing physical activity, reducing tobacco use, working with pregnant women to assure good birth outcomes, working with other health and social service agencies in the community, and educating the community about diseases such as HIV and other infectious and chronic diseases. I'd like to thank the 65 public health staff we have in our county who work every day to provide a safer community, and we would like to thank the commissioners for the support we have received since 1955. Thank you.
We know that you play a vital role in the community and appreciate your coming today.
Thank you very much. I have brochures for all of you guys. You probably had them before.
Okay. With that, we will move on to public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time.
Item 5.1, public hearing and report on petition number 4301, filed by Bank 6, requesting a vacation of a 20-foot of platted restricted access along the east side of Lot 2, Block 1 in the Brock Addition. Sub-item 5.1A, first reading ordinance number 07, 10,422.
I will open that public hearing and call on Mr. Andrew for a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, this is an application to requesting a vacation of the platted restricted access on the east side of a platted lot on South Ohio. And the platting for this particular area on the west side of Ohio Street dates back to 1957. and there was a substantial replat of that in 1965. If you drive out there today, you will see the product of that original replat, which was a plan for limiting access and doing it by constructing a parallel frontage road. And what you see north of Schipple Drive in front of Security Savings is a execution of that plan, which is to basically not have individual driveways on Ohio, but have them on the frontage road instead. The property south of Schipple Drive remained undeveloped during that period, and when there was a replat proposed for what's known as the Brock Addition in 1998, that concept of having the parallel frontage road was abandoned, and restricted access along the Ohio frontage was put in place. Bank 6 is interested in building a new facility in this location right here, and their new facility would occupy 2 platted lots, the one on Ohio and the one directly to the west. It would have 245 feet of frontage on Schipple and 121 feet of frontage on Ohio. The Bank 6 group and their design team looked at a number of different means of arranging the banking facility on this site and looking at circulation for having drive-through service. And after working through all the different alternatives, the plan that's in your packet and on the screen is the plan that they came up with. And they found that it best fit the site and provided the best circulation pattern, also provided a good orientation towards Ohio and Schipple Drive by providing green space in the location. The one aspect of this plan is that it does have a plan that if you are in the drive-up window situation here, that the most efficient way to exit the site would be on Ohio Street through a one-way exit drive. Because there is platted restricted access there, this request comes before you today as a petition for a break in that access to allow the exit-only driveway. I think you're all familiar with South Ohio. It carries between 20 and 23,000 vehicles per day in this location. There are portions of South Ohio that have platted access control and portions that don't. And you can usually identify those sections by seeing how many driveways they are, particularly south of Albert. There's not the access control that there is between Albert and Cloud. You can also see that where possible, we've tried to encourage development that faces the arterial streets to have access from the nearest available side street. And you see that with the Wendy's and with the Kansas Quick Lube out there. The Ohio Street driveway in this case would be an exit-only driveway, and it did seem like it provided a safe and logical circulation pattern for the traveling public. It did maximize the green space on their site, minimize the amount of paving they had to do, and only involved exiting movements to Ohio Street. Staff also looked at it and found it very similar to the layout that had been approved for the Sunflower Bank facility at Shalimar in Ohio, where you enter the bank facility from Shalimar Drive and exit out the drive-through onto Ohio. There would be no fiscal impact on the city. The bank's contractor would be responsible for constructing the curb cut to city standards. If this was the only access proposed into the site and a full-blown two-way driveway, the city staff would not be supportive of it, but it's a limited access and it's exit only. Staff thinks it can support that break for that particular purpose. So the staff recommendation would be to approve the ordinance allowing that to be vacated, that it be limited to 20 feet in width, it serve as an exit only driveway and be marked and signed accordingly, and that the applicants would work with the city engineer to get the appropriate signage and pavement markings there so it's clear that it is for exiting traffic only. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Questions of staff report?
Is this essentially the same as 9th and Walnut at the Bennington State Bank? To me, it looked like it's about the same kind of distance and everything.
About the same kind of arrangement there, where you would enter off of Walnut, and then the exiting movement would be on 9th Street.
So,
And it's also the exit for the Sunflower Bank on South Ohio is not as clearly marked as maybe one would like, but that's primarily the circulation there. Enter off Shalimar, the side street, and exit out the drive-through onto Ohio.
I didn't realize that.
Any additional questions of staff? Seeing none, I'd like to open up the hearing to any public comment, if there is any. Can you give us your name and address?
Jeff Gillum, 730 North 9th Street, architect representing the client, Bank 6. Commissioners, we've worked with staff. As Dean had mentioned, we tried several different alternatives. We feel this is the best solution. We agree with staff's recommendation, and we look for your favorable approval. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Additional public comment? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
Mayor, I'd move for approval of ordinance 0710422, approving the petition filed by Bank 6 for construction of their facility in Lot 2, Block 1 of the Brock addition, with the following conditions listed by staff.
Second. Motion is to approve ordinance 07-10422, vacating a 20-foot section of platted restricted access on the east side of Lot 2, Block 1, the Brock addition of the city of Salina, with some conditions listed there. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0.
Can I make a comment?
Okay.
I just want to thank the staff for all their support. I know Jason's put a new group together to review these projects. They've done an excellent job. I know Dean and all the department heads have been really good to work with. I just want to make a public comment about what a great job they're doing and a great job to work with. So I want to thank you and thank you for all your help.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public hearings and, to the consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of November 5th, 2007. Item 6.2, authorize purchase of a gas monitor from Detection Instrument Corporation in the amount of $23,790. Item 6.3, acceptance of a public drainage easement dedication from HMO Lathe, the LLC on Kenworth Tract in the replat of the Foley Addition.
Anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda or have a question about an individual item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. There's no development business today, so we will continue with items of administration.
Item 8.1, second reading ordinance number 07-10419, amending Chapter 8 of the Salina Code by repealing Articles 10 through 15.
Okay, we passed this on first reading on November 5th, and we've had no comments since then. Is there any public comment this time? Seeing none, commission action.
Mayor, I'd move for approval of ordinance 07-10419 on second reading.
Second. The motion is to approve ordinance 07-10419, amending Chapter 8 of the Salina Code by repealing Articles 10 through 15. Will clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Larson?
Aye.
Commissioner Peck?
Aye.
Commissioner Perney?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanier?
Aye.
Mayor Joka?
Aye.
Item 8.2, second reading ordinance number 07-10420, amending Chapter 8, Article 1, Division 1 of the Salina Code by adding Section 8-14.1, providing for a local amendment to the International Building Code, Section 1204.1, pertaining to space heating requirements for interior environments.
This likewise passed on first reading on November 5th, and we've had no additional comments, but I would entertain any additional if there are at this time. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd move we adopt ordinance number 07-10420 on second reading.
Second.
The motion is to adopt ordinance 07-10420, which provides for local amendment to the International Building Code pertaining to space heating requirements for interior environments here in Salina. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Larson?
Aye.
Commissioner Peck?
Aye.
Commissioner Perney?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanier?
Aye.
Mayor Joka?
Aye.
Item 8.3, second reading ordinance number 07-10421, levying Salina Business Improvement District Number 1 service fees for 2008.
Likewise, a matter that passed on first reading November 5th at our last meeting. Is there any additional public comment? Seeing none, commission action.
Mayor, I'd move for adoption of ordinance 07-10421 on second reading.
Second.
Motion is to adopt ordinance 07-10421 on second reading, levying Salina Business Improvement District the fees for District Number 1, service fees 2008. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Larson?
Aye.
Commissioner Peck?
Aye.
Commissioner Perney?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanier?
Aye.
Mayor Joka?
Aye.
Item 8.4, award a bid for the LED traffic lights, project number 07-2658.
Mr. Frazier?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The City of Salina has a total of 63 traffic intersections. Currently, all of our red traffic lights at these intersections are LED lights. To accomplish the first of a 7-phase LED replacement program, we need to install 110 green, 110 yellow, 29 green arrows, and 29 yellow arrows at the following intersections. They would be placed at Ohio and Crawford, Ohio and Belmont, Ohio and Magnolia, 9th and Crawford, 9th and Magnolia, Crawford and Broadway, and at Crawford and Santa Fe. Bids were sent out to 3 companies that could supply these lights. However, only one company submitted a bid back to that. That was Gady Sales of Wichita, Kansas. Their bid was $22,693.30. This company, Gady Sales, is the primary supplier of most of our traffic control equipment to the city. Our experience has been that they provide excellent service and that they stand by the quality of their equipment. The LED lights are warranted to last 10 years, where the regular bulbs last about a year. The LED lights are brighter, but use 90% less power. The greatest cost advantage with the purchase of these additional LED lights is that less man-hours will be spent in changing bulbs 7 days a week. Funds have been budgeted in the 2007 Traffic Sub-CIP budget, and that staff recommends the award of bid for LED traffic lights to Gady Sales Company, Incorporated, in the amount of $22,693.30. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Questions of Mr. Frazier?
Sometimes high-tech things don't work as advertised. We have had red light ones running quite a while. Have there had to be any replacement for warranty work, or are they actually lasting several years?
That's correct. Is that we did have some that did have to be replaced under the warranty agreement and were replaced without cost.
But you did have to go to the trouble of taking them out and put them in. Okay. So are they better? Are they
Very much
getting
so.
better as time
Very
goes
much
on?
so.
Okay.
Additional questions of staff? If not, I'd entertain any public comment, if there is any. Being none, we'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mayor, I'd move we award the bid for project number 072658 to Gady Sales of Wichita, Kansas, in the amount of $22,693.30.
Second.
The motion is to award a bid for LED traffic lights to Gatus Sales, Inc. in the amount of $22,693.30. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0.
Item 8.5, resolution number 076414, directing that public notice be provided of a request to declare that portion of Thomas Park located east of North 9th Street as surplus parkland.
Mr. Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, the Kansas statutes provide a process by which public parkland or land that's either been dedicated or purchased by the City of Salina for park purposes, how that can be disposed of. And the process involves public notice, and it also involves opportunity for public input, either through the objection to the loss of the parkland or objection to the process by which it is being disposed of. The city has been contacted by representatives of St. John's Military School, and they have asked that the city declare the portion of Thomas Park east of 9th Street as surplus parkland, and they have developed with the city attorney a conditional sales contract setting out the terms by which that would be purchased directly from the City of Salina. So the action today would be, if you are in agreement with the consideration of taking that up as surplus parkland, then we would set December 10th as the date for receiving public input on that, either as to the question of retaining that as parkland or that there should be another method by which it would be disposed of. But the plan would be to create a news release and public notice of the December 10th hearing, and there would be a resolution prepared for your consideration at that meeting. After that, that resolution, if approved, would have to be published 2 times in the Salina Journal, and there's a 30-day period after that by which a protest petition can be submitted. And if that petition contains the names of at least 10% of those who voted in the last regular election, then the transaction cannot proceed without a regular or special election. If there is no protest during that time period, the transaction may proceed. So again, the action today would be to direct staff to set December 10th as the date to take public comment on that transaction. I would certainly defer any questions about the terms of the conditional sales contract to Mr. Bankston. But I'd be open to any questions about the process by which parkland can be disposed of.
How about a question of future land use? What is it presently zoned, and would that zone stay in place at the sale?
I believe that is what's entailed in the contract, that it is RS zoning, which is a designation really for open space or unplatted property. The other thing about this particular piece of property is that, especially the northern part outside the levee, a good part of that is in the mapped floodway for Mulberry Creek and is not really developable property in terms of putting buildings or structures on it. And so that greatly impacts, say, the developability of the property. But I believe, I'll let Mr. Bankston address that, but I believe we did in the contract or proposed contract have the acknowledgement about what the current use limitations were on the property.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Yes, there are a rather extensive set of covenants limiting the prospective purchaser's use, and also, and frankly, it was at Mr. Andrews' suggestion, and I think it was a very good one, that at the end of that document, we also, not only were they asked to formally accept the covenants, there is an acknowledgement of the existing status of the property, and subpoint A, which is on the last page of the deed, which is also an attachment to the contract. In fact, the page just preceding the proposed resolution, subpoint A, at the top of that page, you'll see that there is an acknowledgement of the current zoning and the also the applicable limitations that are included in the Salina Code. So,
Other than the cost of upkeep, what is the advantage, or I don't know if I want to say advantage, but what is the point of getting rid of this city property?
Commissioners, I don't think your staff set out necessarily to get rid of it. I think what happened is we were approached with a request. So we said, you know, we have a request. We want to take an objective look at it. Do we have any future use of this property? There are a lot of limitations that were mentioned, and so there's not a lot we could really do with the property. And then looked at the potential use that the school could have, even with the limitations that are in the covenants, and kind of put ourselves in the position of saying, do we want to be a community partner to facilitate where they want to be in the future, and also protect that to the degree that it wouldn't create any harm or concern to anyone else. And given that we don't have an active use, we felt that was probably the best position to be in. So that's why we have it in front of you today.
Is that being used for anything today at all? Can you even get in there? I don't even see if, you know, I drive by there and I know you can get into Thomas Park, but I've never paid attention if there's access into that, to the east side.
There's just a pull-off here, but that's really for the frontage road that extends up that way, but there's a little driveway here, but it doesn't go any farther than that point there. So there is really no vehicular access into the site, except you can pull off 9th Street right here.
So are there ever people in the park? I mean, what?
Well, the Parks and Recreation Department considered it an undeveloped park. There is no improvements over there. All the improvements were put on the west side of
Right.
9th Street, but there's no improvements were made. Both properties were acquired by the city at the same time, but all the park improvements were put on the west side, and this was part of that acquisition, but nothing has really been done with this property.
When does that date to?
What, excuse me?
When does that date to?
1951 was when the purchase was made, and that predates construction of the levee.
Is it fair to ask what St. John's is planning on using that land for? I understand it's limited usage, but can they put buildings on it, and is it...
Commissioner, I can tell you what they cannot use it for. I'll refer to Dean on possibly what they might use it for. You'll see in your covenants we define development, and they cannot develop that. And development refers to any man-made change to the real estate, including but not limited to constructing buildings or other structures, mining, dredging, paving, excavating, drilling operations, storing of equipment or materials, or parking of vehicles, motorcycles, or trailers. So that's a pretty limited use as how they can use that.
That's why my question, is it fair to ask what would they want? Are they just going to leave it like that?
They currently own the property directly to the east of that, and they're using it as kind of an outdoor recreation area for the cadets for some of their programs. And with the covenants and with the zoning and floodway restrictions, there's really not a whole lot that they can do with this property other than use it as open space.
Mm-hmm.
Do they own that area on the north side of the flood levee to the east of the ground in question?
Yes.
And we don't have that, do we, John? It's in your packet, but you should have in your packet a map there that all the areas that are outlined in the blue box are currently owned by the military school. And so they own property on the north side of Euclid. They own a piece of property north of that, and they recently purchased the property on the north side of the flood control levee that would be directly east of the property that we're talking about. So they own this parcel right here, and they own a portion of this to here, and they own this here where they've moved some of their soccer fields and their recreation fields.
And they own that little tiny corner right at the bottom of where we're speaking about today.
Both ends.
Yeah, right there on the corner.
They own
Mhm.
that.
So
They
it's
also
kinda
own this
chopped up.
right here.
Any additional questions of staff? Seeing none, I'd like to open it up for any public comment.
My name is Debbie Mildfelt. I live at 1124 North Santa Fe. I had two concerns. One, that the property that they're wanting to buy is valued at $28,000, and they're wanting to purchase it for $14,000. And my children have requested that they would like to see the land developed into a park, and we're even willing to put together a volunteer team if that's what's needed to develop it into some type of a usable park for the city.
Okay.
Above and beyond than what's Thomas Park already provides you?
Right, because there isn't really much for the older kids in Thomas Park. It's mostly for younger kids. There's just, I don't know if you've ever been out there.
Mhm.
Just a small area.
Where did you get the value of 28,000?
Appraiser's site.
County appraiser site?
Yeah. Do you want me to show it to you?
That's a good question, though. How did we come on 14,000? 14,500?
Now, if I may, Commissioner, I was about to explain that process. This is the type of information that we'd anticipated would have been discussed at the time of if you had chosen to advance it to the scheduled discussion next month, but certainly happy to go into that now. We were aware of St. John's Military School's interest in looking at the property on this very restricted basis as far as the covenant prohibiting development, the salvaging the trees, and everything that you see in those covenants. So in order to properly address the valuation of the property under those circumstances, the proposed covenants were prepared and provided to the appraiser, Mr. Jeff Holgerson, appraised the property, assuming that the covenants were in place, so that the value would reflect the covenants under which St. John's Military School, as the prospective purchaser, was willing to acquire the property. Our intent, obviously, when you have, and this was a unique situation, as you can tell, but oftentimes our scenario in these cases is that you have property that you identify as potentially surplus and then initiate this process in anticipation of a subsequent sale. In that we were approached about this potential sale, we wanted to be sure that the complete package, if you will, was presented at the time that it would be subject to your and public consideration. So that is why that degree of effort went into both development of the covenants and then appraising the property on the basis of the covenants. That proposed purchase price is actually reflective of the appraised value plus the cost of the appraisal. And that is the basis for arriving at that at what the school was willing to pay for the property, or offering to pay for the property, I should say.
Okay, thank you very much. Any additional public comment?
Has this ever happened before with any of our parks or excess surplus land?
It has on
Specifically parks.
on two previous occasions. There was an occasion where over at Centennial Park, where some houses were, I believe, lost as part of a tornado damage and incorporated into Centennial Park. There was a proposal to make that land available for housing, and after the public hearing process, the City Commission decided not to move forward with declaring that surplus. The other occasion was the city purchased some property off of East Republic at a tax sale, and the purpose for purchasing at the tax sale was to develop a neighborhood park there. Subsequent to that, the city received an offer from Bob Guile, a developer, to swap land to the city over where Oxbow Park is today. And basically there was a land trade between the city of Salina, where the park on East Republic was eliminated, and the city received land, which is today Oxbow Park, as part of that transaction, but went through the same process of whether the City Commission wanted to relinquish the park status of the East Republic property, which in that case it decided to accept the swap, and that land that was a park has now got houses on it. Those are the two that come to mind directly.
Additional public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. So by declaring this as surplus parkland, we would set a hearing where all these matters would be.
You're not actually declaring it surplus today. You're setting a hearing to consider whether it should be declared surplus on the 10th.
Okay.
Mayor, I would move to adopt Resolution 076414, setting a hearing date of December 10th, 2007, to consider the proposed sale transaction with St. John's Military School.
Still need a second? Okay, I'll second it.
The motion is to approve Resolution 07-6414, which sets a hearing date of December 10th, 2007, to consider the proposed sales transaction of St. John's Military School. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That passes 4-1 with Peck dissenting.
Item 8.6, resolution number 076451, authorizing a license agreement with Lonnie Wilson to allow the installation of an awning structure over a public sidewalk in front of his building on Bishop Street and North 13th Street.
Mr. Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, this is a request for approval of a license agreement to allow the installation of an awning that would extend over the public sidewalk. This is a fairly common occurrence in the central business district, where there's a process in place that allows awnings and projecting signs to go over the sidewalk by right in the downtown central business district. That provision does not extend outside the central business district, and we do have a number of locations around the community where we have business buildings that have a zero setback, and the only mechanism by which these types of extensions or encroachments can be allowed would be through an individual license agreement. This particular request is for a building that's at the southeast corner of Bishop and North Street, faces the Union Pacific Railroad tracks there. Mr. Wilson has purchased the property and is in the process of renovating the space, a majority of which would be devoted to a new drinking establishment. What he brought in to us is actually pretty extensive. The building has 146 feet of frontage along Bishop, and the proposed awning would extend over that entire frontage and then wrap around on the west side as well over on North 13th Street. Again, these because it's outside the central business district and it would project out over a public sidewalk, a license agreement in this case would need to be approved, and it would spell out the terms and conditions under which these improvements would be allowed to extend over that right-of-way area. And the standard condition that we have in the downtown area, which should extend to a situation like this as well, is to make sure that we do not extend out any farther than 6.5 feet over the public property, and that we have a minimum vertical clearance of 8 feet between the sidewalk and the awning itself. And so we will ensure that that occurs. We think there's probably some reason to consider looking at areas outside the central business district that have zero setback buildings, and maybe a process that could be used the same as in the central business district. But this did not appear to be routine to us just because of the 146-foot length and the wrapping around of the building. So this comes to you for consideration of a license agreement with Mr. Wilson as representative of the Lonnie D. Wilson Trust. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Questions of Mr. Andrew? Seeing none, I'd invite any public comment if there is any. There being none, we'll bring it back to the Commission for action.
Mayor, I'd move we approve resolution number 07-6451.
Second.
Motion is to approve Resolution 07-6451, authorizing a license agreement with Lonnie Wilson to allow the installation of an awning over a public sidewalk in front of a building at Bishop Street and North 13th Street. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. Before request for executive session, did want to ask for an update on the process to appoint members to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee.
Yes, as you may recall, we previously set the deadline for submission of expression of interest forms as November 16th, which was last Friday, and we set the date for City Commission consideration for November 26th, which would be next Monday. I don't know that we took into account Thanksgiving, which shortens the time frame in terms of being able to process what we have in the way of expression of interest forms, get them to you, give you an opportunity to get your input to the mayor. So my suggestion would be that we consider setting City Commission consideration back a week to December 3rd, and then we also extend the submission deadline to Wednesday of this week. We had quite a few come in on Friday, a few come in today. We may have a few more come in. We would like the opportunity just to be sure that we're getting as many stakeholder groups considered and represented as possible. Given the formal nature of the way that you made the decision the last time, felt like it was appropriate to bring that to you today.
What did you say the deadline was?
Last Friday.
Or did you? Okay.
And we had quite an influx on the deadline and a few trickle in today.
Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yes.
We'll need a motion to do that.
I believe the former action was by motion, so yes, I believe so.
Well, okay, I'd so move that the period for applications be extended till the close of business this Wednesday, and the City Commission consideration be December 3rd.
Quick question. Is the city offices open on Friday?
No.
Okay.
The deadline is Wednesday.
Wednesday of this week.
The 21st would be Wednesday of this week.
Right, and then there's no business on Friday here.
Right.
Okay, so that would be, what's that, Monday?
The following Monday is the 26th. That's why we're setting it back a week
Right,
to
so that would be December
3rd.
December 3rd
okay.
would be the date for consideration.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is to reestablish the deadline for expression of interest forms this Wednesday, November 21st at 5 o'clock, and with the City Commission intention to make the appointments on December 3rd.
Correct. That'll work.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. Before we have the executive session, is there any action anticipated afterwards?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd move the City Commission recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss with the city attorney a matter subject to attorney-client privilege for the reason that public discussion of the matter would waive that privilege and adversely affect the city's interest in the matter. Reconvene in this room at 5:03 p.m.
I'll second.
Motion is to recess in the executive session for 15 minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session.